let's get on to our next category.
Yep.
It's going to be a mess.
Oh.
A hot mess.
Ah.
There's been no messes this year.
I'm a hot mess.
We're going to... Well, you're an expert.
Yes.
Okay. We're going to need your expertise then. Because there were some messes.
expertise.
Nice.
There were some messes this year, and we're going to figure out which one was the messiest.
Are we missing any messes? Are there any?
I don't know.
Missing?
I feel like we should talk through what we have.
Let me read what we got. Maybe something will come to mind. Also, these are just like, I don't know. What's a mess?
What is it?
Just a bad situation.
a miserable little pile of bad decisions.
Something that starts out bad and is not handled properly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say mostly stuff that is like not beyond your control.
Biggest,
right?
I feel like biggest fiasco is another name for this.
Yeah.
Just in case people are wondering what we mean by this.
Unforced error.
Yes, sure. Here's what we have so far: the Destiny 2 XP thing, Star Wars Battlefront 2. Which I feel like didn't even have to put a qualifier on that. The Visceral Games shutdown, the Mass Effect Andromeda launch, the Nintendo Switch Online app, PUBG hacks, Middle-earth Shadow of War, which I assume to be loot box related, EA in general, Lawbreakers, and Marvel Heroes Omega.
I don't know that Lawbreakers qualifies as a hot mess. More of just like a mild tragedy.
Yeah, like that game is
a very mild tragedy.
Yeah, no one played Lawbreakers. I think is the whole story there.
Is it still in a really bad spot? Like they haven't turned it around or
It's
anything?
better at this point.
Really? Boy.
I don't think anyone thinks that like Lawbreakers was like, a uniquely awful game or anything.
Right.
It's just that no one cared.
Right.
Yeah, and it's that game is not bad.
Yeah.
I think it's fine,
but it's not.
I can tell you.
I would not. I also wouldn't necessarily say like, you definitely need to play it. Like either.
Right,
Like,
right.
It's okay.
I can tell you that as of right now, in the early evening, there were 58 people playing 15 minutes ago.
Oh,
That's more than there has been.
Is that a full room even?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's like, what, 16
that's a
the
few
matches
full.
are
Yeah.
16 people.
I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a decent one. Atlas threatening to
That's not. Yeah.
Oh, for streaming?
Sure.
for streaming.
Yeah.
That was lame.
All right, so I should
I'm
take
writing
off.
that down.
I'm taking off Lawbreakers.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah, I guess Marvel Heroes Omega / like the closure of Gazillion.
Yeah.
Kind of sad. I don't know if that's a...
Yeah, it's
The
kind of
mess
a
is around the console version being out for about 4 months.
Yeah.
And
And
people
them saying
spending money on it.
It's going to end at the end of the year. Just kidding. It's ending right now in November.
and a lot of people not getting refunds for the money they put into the game that they only had a few months to play.
Yeah.
Okay, that's messy.
That's pretty bad. Is it the worst? Maybe not.
Well, look, we could go a few different ways with this. Sometimes this stuff intersects with "please stop" in a way,
Yeah.
so I think that there are ways to frame some of the hottest mess stuff in a way that won't necessarily overlap with that, which is why I wouldn't just say loot boxes here.
Right.
Because we'll get to that.
Yeah.
We'll say our piece.
So I think like the Battlefront 2 is a saga
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
of multiple apologies.
Chain reaction of bad decisions.
A long time ago. Game
Go on.
changers far, far away.
Another one I would maybe take off is PUBG hacks, not because that isn't a thing. Like I have certainly run into that in that game, though I would say it was not in like a constant way. But like it's not the only multiplayer game that had hacking issues this year.
Yeah.
Like I've heard a lot of scuttlebutt about Call of Duty World War II having some
scuttlebutt.
issues with that on a semi-regular basis. Like that shit is out there in general.
I feel like I've heard lately, because I think a lot of us have fallen off on it, but I've heard that lately if you're going to play, the PUBG hacks are...
Has it gotten worse?
It's
quite bad.
So the situation is if you're the higher up you are on the leaderboard, the more likely you are to encounter hackers.
Because naturally, people who are cheating are going to rise up the ranks.
That's why I haven't seen many.
Exactly. I have never seen one.
Yeah.
Right.
I've heard China.
How would you know, though?
I saw one guy wall hack pretty blatantly.
You can watch some videos. Yeah, that was you. You can watch some videos of people using hacks in that game, and it's really
brutal?
something to watch because they're just like landing headshots from
That's me.
insane distances.
Like aimbots
like
and
not
stuff,
even not
or-
aimbots and all
Speed
that other
hacks,
stuff.
like
And,
they.
they can scoot around the map at
Oh, really? It'd be so weird to see a guy like running across a cornfield super fast.
Right.
I've had a couple of people reach out, somebody specifically during the call-in show once, talking about how it's just like literally impossible to find a game in China without running into hackers.
Yeah. So it seems like that game is experiencing issues the same way a game like Counter-Strike Go does, and Team Fortress 2. Like a lot of popular online shooters have had their time with this.
I guess it's not.
It's not even a full release yet. Too. Something to consider.
We will see. Well, I don't think we can excuse it for that.
No.
I don't think it's worth full.
I just don't think it's a unique problem to that game.
Right. Yes.
It's the popularity of that game that maybe is drawing more of it and more attention.
Hopefully they will deal with it, but it is an issue for a certain percentage of players.
Anything that gets that popular is gonna
If like next year when we sit around this table and it's still a hacker problem,
then I would say that's a hot fucking mess.
Hot mess.
Yeah. And if they're not trying to address it, right?
Yeah.
Do you guys have any the Destiny 2 PC stuff with people getting banned for having like Discord?
I have a friend that got banned for like no reason.
How quickly do they reverse it? Oh gosh,
I haven't heard. I haven't talked to him since the reversal thing.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Did you
I
guys
heard
hear
that
much about that stuff?
I did
a little bit.
You just cut
It
him
was
out
like-
of your life completely.
Yeah, he was a troublemaker.
Yeah, I mean he got banned. So
Yeah.
But I heard that it was very much a thing where people were like, "I'm getting banned for no reason," and they're like, "We only ban cheaters." And then like a few hours later, they're like, "Oh no, actually there is a problem here." But I assume that means they addressed it.
Yeah, I haven't heard much more. It was like anything that tapped into the game to hook with hooks that tapped into
any
the
kind
game,
of overlay
stuff.
thing.
But I hadn't heard the resolution on it. So
I think the resolution is like they don't want you streaming it unless you're in windowed mode. There's like stuff.
Really?
There's stuff that makes it hard for you to even stream the game out. That I think is kind of inherent to the way they built it.
That sucks.
Yeah.
I think they're bigger messes though.
Yeah.
Do we want to take each EA thing piecemeal, or should we do the blanket?
Well, I don't think you can do a blanket EA thing because Madden was good. Because there's stuff that EA did that just kind of happened and was whatever.
And these are fairly varied messes.
Right.
Like they are uniquely bad in their own way.
You could see a second hat trick.
We could. I think we could.
I think
Brutal.
Unprecedented.
I think there's a bit. I think there's a bit of a narrative here that kind of ties them all together. If you look at Mass Effect Andromeda, right, and the problems they had with that, which is the kind of single player narrative game. Then them kind of being like, hey, with Visceral, we're not doing single player narrative games anymore. And then being like, but we're going to do this. Star Wars Battlefront 2, and then just missing the target
the problem,
so wide.
The problem with Battlefront wasn't that, it wasn't a single player, or at least not a uniquely single player experience. The problem with Battlefront was that, like, they fucked the structure of that game so badly to meet so many different bad needs that they had.
That's what I mean. I think
we don't know. I think is the answer there. It's like you could look at it. Yeah, you could look at it and go like, well, Mass Effect flopping puts a lot of pressure onto Visceral and their Star Wars game, and then that falling apart. Or as that continued to not come together. That happened because they pulled resources off of that onto Battlefront 2,
which was
and
actually
now this
reported.
Battlefront 2. That part we can say with some authority. And then Battlefront 2 happens, and then now the next thing is fucked as a result. Like, there's
some red string.
There is a chain reaction.
It does start seeming like a cascading thing.
You don't have to go.
There's definitely me circling a thing on a board somewhere and being like, tapping it and being like big question mark at the top. And but who's this?
That's not a tinfoil hat thing. Like, you could piece all that together, but I just don't think we have enough info.
Yeah. I was just kind of surfing a wave.
But you could.
Have a little fun there.
I think Shadow of War can go.
Yeah, for a lot of the same reasons.
Like, remember though, when that game launched, like that,
pretty messy.
That game is why Battlefront is such a big deal. The reaction to that was like the first wave of this in terms of like
that was the kindling.
They were doing the charity thing that didn't happen in other territories.
That was messed up.
Like all the
that
loot
was a
box
totally
stuff,
separate thing.
Like there's a lot with that game that presaged, basically like led to the Battlefront thing being as big as it was.
Yeah, but in that game in particular, the loot boxes ended up being a non-starter. Like the game is completely playable without ever touching.
Every
that
game can technically completely playable.
But that Battlefront is such an egregious case. That's why.
And when you look at it as like a hot mess, like EA like going back on certain things like multiple times, like everything around that game is such a mess.
Like the EA apology fucking wagon is still in motion. Like, don't worry.
lord.
I'm not
is
saying
bad.
that. I'm not saying that over EA.
But it's really animated nicely. It looks really
It's a
good.
great looking
the inside
wagon.
of the wagon.
Frostbite made that
really
wagon.
nice.
Awesome.
I just feel like you see it too much.
The wagon opening animation is top notch.
And it gets new things every time you kind of come back every month. There are new things inside of it that are big messes.
But there's an end game in that game that seems like tailor made for hey, you should buy legendary orcs or grind on this thing forever.
It really wasn't, though. I had so much currency at the end of that game, I could buy dozens of boxes with the in-game stuff. Like that's the thing. Like the difference between Shadow of War and Battlefront is that once people got their hands on Shadow of War, like the outrage stopped because they realized, okay, fine, it's not a huge deal. It sucks that you
like
put this
this
in
sucks,
here,
but
it doesn't ruin the game. Whereas when they got their hands on Battlefront is when things really fucking took off.
Like I think the framing here is that we are not letting Middle Earth off the hook for the kind of inherent shittiness of that stuff. It's just that we don't think it's top 3 necessarily.
It was gross that they did it, and people were justifiably mad, but it's not as egregious as Battlefront.
I also think there's maybe this isn't an allowance for it, but Star Wars Battlefront 2 being a mostly competitive multiplayer game, that stuff becomes a little bit more like the paying in versus like Middle Earth.
I'm not comparing the two things because I think Battlefront 2 is on this list 1,000%. Like it's not that's not in question.
But you were absolutely right. That Middle Earth stuff was like the smoke rising before the fire went.
But like if that's the standard, we should also put Forza on here because they also had some predatory microtransaction stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
they didn't though. They had some crates, but there were no real money transactions in that game at launch.
Yeah, but some of the stuff you used to get for like permanently became like a consumable thing that you then lost.
Yes.
Like there were issues.
They had an apology. Like there's a mess around that where they had to apologize and make changes. And yes, you're right. That game, I'm not excusing what they did.
Yeah, like Shadow War feels like it's on about the level of Forza to me.
And then there was that NBA 2K stuff.
Yeah,
right?
I mean that was less loot box related, but it was definitely like, hey, we have throttled the progression in this game in such a way that like we really want you to spend money to make that not a problem.
Well, and didn't WWE like the creation stuff in your career is tied to loot boxes?
That's just in the career mode, but
that's still annoying though if you're trying to build a character and design him and stuff.
And if the career mode didn't suck completely irrespective of that, I might have been more upset about it. But like that mode sucks for like a multitude of reasons.
We should reiterate again that there is a venue for bad trends to be called out.
Right,
that we'll get to.
Boy, I'm really trying to go outside of like EA here and find some real big hot bangers.
I think the Atlas thing is big enough to stay on this list.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, dude, that was
like the fucking most
backwards
ass.
Totally, but didn't it come to nothing? Like they never acted on anything, right?
No, they never the thing was they just turned off in-game streaming for that game.
Yeah.
And so, like, if people were streaming it, they were technically going around, like, the built-in stuff. And I think that, there was sort of, like, a loose talk of, like, well, Atlas could get your video pulled down
and it was a series of, like, changes and apologies and, like, hey, we've decided... Yeah, it was like, now you can stream up to this day.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're just like, dude, fuck off. Like,
what? I mean, a game that had been out in Japan for almost a year.
It was one of those classic moments of like, oh, someone responsible for decision making on this game doesn't understand how the internet works.
And that's to me, like, and I'm not saying it doesn't qualify, but like to me that is actually a very cold mess, like as in it is fucking ancient. This is a problem with, this used to be a problem with the mentality of a lot of Japanese publishers, and most of them have gotten over that.
Even like Nintendo has gotten a lot better about
but
that.
like Atlas is like somehow still holding on to that fucking weird old like conservatism of just like, no, you can't fucking
steal our game.
What are you doing? You are stealing our game through the internet. Fuck you. Like
they immediately ended up looking completely toothless though, because everybody just said fuck you
and did it,
and then they immediately had to backpedal. So.
Yeah, but I think like that's why it's a mess and not a bad trend.
Yeah,
like this thing is a messy situation that never got resolved properly, and it makes them look like complete idiots.
All right, we can leave it on here.
I think the online app can go. I think it sucks. I think it's definitely a mess.
So much.
But I also think
fucking Nintendo.
Can you pull up the image of what it takes to actually?
It is absurd. I don't know. It's a top 3.
So bad.
I just feel like at least how I play most games on my Switch, I don't care
you
about.
Don't miss it.
I'm not like I wish I had a thing that I could do with it. Like it's not like I have to use that to work around.
Part of that is definitely part of that is alleviated by Nintendo not having a lot of online games.
You know what? I would almost broaden this to say just like their fucking utter failure to make a modern console in any way whatsoever. Like no save management, no like achievement stand-in. No decent social features, no fucking Miiverse.
But that seems like maybe more of a please stop.
It's like the friendless stuff is still shitty.
Yeah,
but it's also kind of a really good console.
How are they so forward thinking on something like that?
That's what I'm saying. It is like they got really lucky that this time the gimmick is amazing because last time the gimmick was terrible. The time before that the gimmick was not great.
Well, I mean,
I like the Wii. I think it's like a revolutionary console.
The time before that, it was a lunchbox. Like
it does seem like
that handles.
I will not have you disrespect the GameCube.
I think it is a please, like Nintendo. Please stop being bad at the internet.
I think,
it's more, and even more than the internet. You know, like let me back up my fucking saves.
It's dangerous. Yeah. It's dangerous. The kids might get drugs.
The only thing I will say about the save stuff is that you can tell they very much want people to take their Switches with them and plug them into other people's TVs and stuff like it. The idea of like just swapping saves around and stuff like that just probably seems like an alien concept to them because to them the whole point is to bring the console places. But I agree with you. They should still have that.
If somebody steals my Switch, that stuff's just gone.
No. But have you heard that like a lot of people
in a cloud or something?
Yes. So a lot of people who have like lost their Switch or it's been stolen or something, when they've talked to Nintendo support about it and like gotten a new one or bought a new one, they have been able to like if it's linked to your Nintendo account, download your old saves and everything. So like
I have heard
on a technical level, yes, you've heard it too.
So this is like the voice chat stuff, where it's like there are these systems in place, but they refuse to surface them or show them to the consumer.
So it is possible.
That's fucking crazy.
I don't know if this is a Giles handcuffs thing, but like I have definitely heard.
Dude, I need some fucking verification on this.
I'll look up the thing.
You are insane.
No. But would you put it past them?
The doors off. No, I guess I wouldn't. I wouldn't put it past them.
Are you sure you understand that correctly? Because I know that people who have physically sent their Switches in and gotten a replacement have had their stuff transferred.
People have said like even like maybe an icon showed up at some point showing like downloading saves or something. Like this was definitely a weird thing. Like not widespread, but enough people being like, yeah, this totally happened with me. I'll try to find it.
I know it sounds so incredulous.
But you've heard it too. You've heard it too. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
My uncle who works at Nintendo was able to get my saves back.
Yeah.
Right. It's amazing.
I don't think I buy it.
All right, I'll do some research here.
But like the friends list is useless. Like there's nothing like the Miiverse there. There's nothing.
I mean, I think
it's a cool thing that plays awesome games, and that's it.
You still have to send friend codes.
Yeah, fucking friend codes.
Yes. Friend codes in 2017.
It's harder to add friends to the Switch than it was on the Wii U.
Also, come on. Like friend codes suck because like then 6 people could just be like Jeff.
Like, the truly terrible part of it is like you're getting this request from like these non-unique names.
Right. It's weird.
Like they've had their strongest year ever game-wise or very close to it.
I don't know if it's a hot mess.
Yeah, I think these are all very valid, and I think we should discuss it again, and please stop.
Yeah. I think Nintendo's
they're not going to release another console next year or the year after
or are they? Yeah, I mean that is the era we live in now where like it might not be
Switch XL.
I think we can still call them out for it.
Yeah,
you're right. All right. Maybe it's not as much of a mess.
I mean because they do keep doing it. Like they kind of and they'll probably maybe they won't put out another handheld. I don't know.
Yeah, no, this is...
I don't know what's going on anymore.
I don't think Marvel Heroes is a top 3 one.
No,
I think that is a mess. I agree.
And
it's shitty.
pretty
the refund stuff is
like they fucked
shitty.
their customers and the people who made the game.
Yeah, it's shitty.
It's pretty bad.
I suspect that they got... If you talk to them about it, they'd probably tell you that they got fucked on some stuff too. And probably didn't want to treat their customers this way, but I guess I don't know one way or the other. The console stuff specifically.
I also wonder if we'll see more of this going forward as it
was kind of a rude awakening of
I'm just going to come out and say
yeah. It was definitely a like, wow, this is a modern game. This is not Demon's Souls. This is not something that came out 10 years ago.
Well, we're going to see
not even Hawken, which like for that game has not been on consoles forever, but has been on consoles longer than Marvel Heroes.
I mean, we're going to see stuff like are we going to see games that are in early access that people can put real money into and then
it's called Ghost in the Shell First Assault Online. That game I don't think ever officially
never
got out of early access, but they are shutting down this month.
Did you put real money into it?
Yeah.
No refunds.
No refunds. I mean, the game was up for like a year, so or maybe less than a year, but It was up for a good long time. Not a terrible first-person shooter for free anyway.
I don't know. I guess we'll see more of it.
And I think before this, you saw it a lot more with MOBAs, like MOBAs that never made it out of early access, where they were just like, oh, wait, nope, not working out.
All right. Cutting Marvel Heroes?
Sure.
All right. Can I cut Middle-earth?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you made your case on that. I'm okay with it.
Do we want to keep the Destiny 2 thing? Is that worth it? I feel like on the scale of everything else.
They just put out a huge thing today addressing all that, and they said they acknowledged the XP thing and said they're going to stop doing that. So
here's the question: would any of this have ever happened if they hadn't gotten caught?
Right. No,
not.
No way.
Of course not.
So this is them again, like obfuscating the amount of XP you get. Okay.
Well, not just obfuscating it, like reducing it without telling you, like.
Yeah.
Oh, right. But it was like the bar was moving at a disproportionate or not at the right level, right?
They're effectively devaluing your time over time,
but showing you that you did, right? Like in a deceitful way.
Yeah. And then when caught on that, changing it so that
it just represents the like devalued.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that, I do have a question here that's more of like maybe a technical question, but is that abnormal for games? Like, isn't that normal when like you reach a certain level, it's harder to level?
Yeah,
that could be a totally acceptable thing if they communicated it.
Yeah, I think it's like
the difference.
It's the transparency issue. Well, but I feel like the mechanic itself seems pretty standard.
The difference here, in my opinion, is the fact that the reward you get for leveling up is something that they sell.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, that's where it gets weird, because otherwise, like, I look at this and go like, you probably shouldn't.
You don't
keep
need
playing
those
Destiny
shaders
2,
anyway,
because like if you're past level 20 and you're still like playing it, like there's not enough content for that to be worth your while.
Right.
I don't know. I hit 20 pretty fast.
Yeah. And
before I got out of the single
and each
player.
week they give you 3 levels at a reduced rate because you get that rested bonus or whatever. And so I don't know. It sucks that they were shady about it.
Yeah.
Right,
but the core system itself, I look at and go like, this doesn't seem that bad. But them being weird about it is the part that you're like, okay, fuck that.
Like, it wouldn't have been an issue if they actually surfaced that stuff the way, the actual numbers. If they just said up front, hey, we throttle it in these situations, and this is the XP you earn through that, and it is a different number, like, all of this could have been avoided. People would have complained about it, but nobody would be talking about it this way.
Yeah, there are plenty of games that do also not even like make it harder to get XP, but like diminish XP
World of Warcraft
if you do the same thing over and over again.
Yeah,
right?
which I think seems pretty normal.
It's like Tony Hawk, you do the same trick over and over again.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So essentially, they made the mess for themselves just by not being upfront about it.
Yeah.
Quick update. So I looked it up, and apparently somebody said that they sent in their Switch for repairs. They got a different one back, and they went to go download Zelda, and it needed an update. But while it was updating, they saw an icon that looked like it was downloading from a cloud, and then when they booted it up, all the stuff
it does
was
that when
and
you.
everything.
That's not at all cloud saves. I know what that
The
is.
save,
That
but
is
he's saying save files were intact when he got the new
because
Switch.
Nintendo can transfer the save files over.
And when it says the cloud thing, that's not.
That's I if you take turn your Switch off, take your SD card out, turn it back on. All those game icons that were on that SD card will appear with that cloud icon.
It's like when you archive something. Yeah. But he was saying that
I just bought a new SD card to replace my old SD card, and when I swapped them, I did that whole thing where it made me download patches again and all that stuff.
Okay, and it does look like it's just this one thing, and there are some people saying maybe debunked, but like IGN reported the thing.
That's me.
All right, it's real.
Nintendo can definitely physically transfer save data from Switch to Switch.
Yeah, nothing confirmed on cloud.
It'd be amazing if there was a weird mystery cloud that no one knew about.
Would it surprise you with Nintendo?
No.
I mean, there was a mystery game on that console that nobody knew about.
Oh,
yeah, which is cool.
Yeah,
that's not a mess.
That would be like best feel good moment of the year. If we had
or
a
best
category
surprise
like that.
they're so weird.
Yeah, I think we can cut the Destiny 2 XP thing. I think it's shady and it's shitty.
Yeah, it's shitty, but
and it's ongoing, but it's not top 3.
They're definitely like in the midst, like as we're recording this, they're in the middle of kind of squirming and and saying different stuff because they're releasing their DLC like any day now or like next week or whatever it is.
Yep.
So like that is definitely kind of ongoing, but the XP thing on its surface, like
was the Visceral game shut down really a hot mess after like Jason Schreier's article broke about like it turns out that studio was just fucked because of a bunch of different
bad management.
The way they messaged it
I think the thing is, like, that story is the story that kind of makes it a hot mess because they take that in contrast with their statement.
Yeah.
Well, they're not going to say.
No, of course not.
Like,
but they
the
said
statement
so
was
much.
so far off.
the statement was bullshit.
But the statement had like more in it than it needed to have in a weird way.
This is the key thing: is that they broke the number one rule of PR, which is that you never say more than you have to.
No, sure.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that they could have just said straight up, we are reevaluating, kind of our direction on this stuff. Ultimately, we have decided to make the business decision to close this team and change development on this game. We wish them best on their future endeavors, and that could have been it. But they didn't. They tried to over elaborate it in a way that made it seem like they were trying to explain away a decision that should have been very easy to explain.
Real quick, you just reminded me of something. How do we feel about this hot mess? What was that E3 game that looked really cool? The Cyberpunk game.
Oh.
And then that dude
the last night?
Yeah, and then people found out he was being gross, and then they like doubled down on a statement for him right away. And
the statement was not good. I feel like that was much more of like someone tossed a match into a puddle of gasoline and it flared up real fast, and then everyone forgot about it.
Right.
Okay.
I also feel like there have been so many instances of very similar things. Like you can look at like the Hat in Time game and all the drama around there and all the like gross people involved in that game. And there's so many other games that just have like disgusting people involved. That's maybe makes it like more than a hot mess and more than even like a police stop of just like, well, this is just like a societal issue.
Yeah. I just remembered that one and wanted to feel out how you guys felt.
The most noteworthy thing about that one was just the speed at which that thing moved.
Oh yeah,
that was a milkshake duck to end all milkshakes.
Yeah, that was a spot fire.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the visceral statement stuff was like, what are you?
Yeah.
Well, and especially when
What are
you
you saying?
I mean, think about the topic and the passions they inflamed with that thing.
Yeah.
Because he basically came out and said, "Hey, single player games are dead. We're not going to make them anymore."
I mean,
which is not information that necessarily is backed up by the story that came out afterwards and some of the other stuff we've heard in the interim. But.
And you've got like Amy Hennig on a game that is like known for some of the best single player narrative games, with the Naughty Dog stuff, and like basically being like, "Now these are just dead, and we're closing the studio." Like it's a bad statement versus which every other statement you've ever heard around the closure of a studio is like, we're sad to see the studio go. There were problems.
Also,
here.
like the slow decline of Visceral Games is fucking nuts.
Yeah.
To go from
the
Dead
Battlefield
Space 1 and
Hardline
2 to this.
And when you peel back the layers of Schreier's reporting and just like what sounds like an endemic problem of mismanagement of resources and how they structured that game, and also like trying to meet the needs of Battlefield Hardline, a game that probably should have just been fucking canceled at some point, but they had to make good on that DLC.
That article, which
right.
we have no reason to doubt the veracity of that article.
Yeah.
But like that thing reads like Visceral just getting kicked when they were down over and over for like 3 years.
Yeah.
It's like every time they were going to get the promised resources and people to fulfill what they were supposed to do, like they got yanked out from under them again.
Just crucially bad decision making.
And like expecting Uncharted 4 levels of like Metacritic scores and stuff when they had all those entries and things.
Skeleton crew.
The crew and the budget and everything was not that. And
like
I
that was
ended up looking into some of this stuff a little bit kind of separately and before that report appeared, heard enough of the same stuff to where like I feel like Schreier's report is definitely valid.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That was part of the Battlefront. Like that dovetails with Battlefront because supposedly
they got the resources and look at what they did with them.
Well, yeah. Supposedly Motive was supposed to be helping out with the Visceral game, and then they went and worked on Battlefront instead.
So is Visceral bigger than Atlas?
I feel like it is.
Yeah.
Because Atlas is like, it's a mess and it's bad, but it's also a mess for a slightly more niche group, just in the sense of like it's for streamers.
It is a dangerous precedent.
Yeah.
But it's also a precedent that like I can't see any other publisher wanting to even engage with because it's just.
I don't think it's a precedent because they failed. Like they weren't successful in strong arming these people.
And also it casts a kind of a dark cloud around the release of a pretty hotly anticipated game.
That's totally true.
That like I think like soured people on it a little bit out of the gate. In a way that game didn't deserve. People who worked on that game and made that game didn't deserve that. That just happened to them.
in terms of the scale of the mess, the top three here are really on a different level.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
Like, I think we gave Atlas its recognition here for its dumb decision, but it's not top 3.
It's a very good mess.
I think if they had like, pursued legal action or anything super crazy like that, then this
absolutely
would be pretty wild. But the fact that they were defanged so quickly,
so it's the second hat trick.
Yeah, that's the kind of year EA has had. Wow. This has been, to my recollection, the worst year EA has had.
Oh, I can't think of it.
I'm not saying it is all time, but like as long as I have been working in this industry, I have never seen them fuck up this much.
No.
Oh man.
I mean, and that's you're including like the year that they had NBA Live coming out.
Yeah.
Or you're including the
Yeah.
year they had NBA Elite coming out.
that's right.
I'm talking about the SimCity shit.
Oh my god.
Oh, mama.
Yeah.
Jeez, man.
Oh,
What if you had 4 SimCities in 1 year?
Poor SimCity.
I know.
I
I
know,
wanted
that
that game to be good.
It should have been so much
Thank
better.
God there was Cities Skylines.
Yeah.
Totally.
Thanks for reminding me about SimCity.
boy.
You know, it was a-
I've been thinking about SimCity a lot lately. In the wake of this stuff, just going like, man.
Just imagine you in a bathtub thinking about SimCity.
I definitely thought a lot about Maxis when the Visceral stuff came down.
It's like EA has.
I mean, dude, the EA graveyard is immense.
Yeah.
Like, it's,
What's number one of these?
Battlefront.
It's got to be
Battlefront's huge.
Battlefront.
EA shareholders have lost $3.1 billion in the last week because of Battlefront 2.
And they got
Oh,
yelled at by
brother.
Disney.
An important distinction that I have seen people mention is that the where EA is at now with stock was basically where they were in July. So it's not like they have had like some major precipitous unprecedented fall. It's just that they went up for a while and then they
back
went
down.
down.
Yeah, but then
they've been
just
at near
launched-
all-time highs for a while.
Yeah.
They
like-
also just launched this game. It should have
They
gone
did.
up, right?
Yeah.
Like that's.
But that's so.
It was an 8% loss versus a 3% average growth. So
Yeah, they've had
that's impressive because you announced that you have to stop doing loot boxes.
Like I wonder how the financials. I bet Battlefront probably sold decently. Like it is a Star Wars property.
Yeah, and word of mouth got really toxic around it in a way that like
Wow.
I was going out around Thanksgiving shopping and stuff like that, and I saw a lot of pictures of this online, but I can definitely verify like saw a lot of copies of that game and a lot of PS4 hardware bundles hanging out.
Yeah.
I mean, like
I
that
did
hit
see pictures of
mainstream
that.
news.
Purely
That's where this story tilted and became the hottest mess.
Oh
is-
right, where like
Yeah.
government regulation.
Yeah.
And it's on CNN.
Yeah, we're talking
That's
about
another thing.
government regulators coming in. Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's showing up
Right.
on
Thanks, EA.
mainstream news now.
It was when financial reporting started covering the story is probably why the stock takes a hit. That's probably why Disney gets on the phone and says, hey, this thing that we totally approved of, we unapprove of it. What are we doing? What's going on? Hey, we need to fix this. This is real bad.
What the fuck are you
Anaheim
doing with
already
this
really
thing
hates
that we
us.
totally know what you're doing?
Yeah, right, exactly. Hey, this thing we totally signed off on. How dare you?
And they as of the recording of this, they haven't turned the store back on, right?
No.
Last I saw it, they still have the Get More Crystals thing, but it says there's nothing here.
Like there
What are you
was
looking at?
still a sign up in the GameStop when I walked by that was like, "Get the enhanced edition with 12,000 crystals today." And I was going to take a picture of it. Like, because there were physical cards in stores that were crystals for sale.
Yeah.
It never launched with the store. It never officially.
But
came.
if you redeem those codes, you would still get crystals.
what would you get?
You
now?
can still, if you
still
have
buy
crystals, you
the-
can still spend them.
you can still
All
spend
they
them.
removed is
buy
the
more
ability to
crystals.
buy them with real
Okay.
money from the game itself. Like the page, like all that stuff is still in there. They haven't changed shit about the game.
So we should run down the timeline really quick.
I don't know if I can.
Well, really quick, I think the most important thing that I want to touch on is before the game officially launched, they were like, "Oh, we hear your concerns. Don't worry, we're going to reduce the costs by 75%."
So
Of the- of
let's
the-
take it back though. Post beta,
Yes.
they had to get out there. I want to say at least twice, and say, "All right, because of your feedback, we've reworked the way the cards work. We're changing the way that they were making changes to that system around the negativity they were seeing during beta. They put out that big public beta. Then at some point they had a review event." That we were invited to but did not attend, but we talked to some people who did go, and sure enough, as their footage verifies, the credit costs for Heroes were way lower at the review event than they were in the shipping game. That might not be nefarious considering how many times this shit has changed. That might just be where they were at, and then at the last minute they went, actually turned it up. Then
the day before.
So the day before official release, which if you bought the expensive version of the game, you were already in, and EA Access users were already playing the 10-hour trial of the game.
Yeah.
The feedback from that led to them cutting the prices by 75%.
In addition
to the rewards. They cut the rewards by 75%. And then hours before the game was to go on sale proper, like 5 o'clock Thursday, for a game that would go on sale 9 o'clock Thursday night, midnight East Coast, that's when suddenly all the credits got yanked out of the store. They had not issued a statement yet.
Yeah, they made the change before putting out any messaging.
And then they put out the statement. There was talk for a while like, oh, we heard that like they were going to make a statement the following day, and the YouTube, some YouTubers had been notified about the changes. Or, like there was a very confusing moment there for about an hour, and then they just put out the statement. They put out multiple versions of the statement. One that was like social media friendly, like a Twitter, like a GIF they could attach in Twitter that just says like, "We're sorry, we'll listen more" in big letters, or it's like a shorter version of the full apology.
Their messaging is pretty good, though. The pinned tweet on EA Star Wars is, "This is the Star Wars game you're looking for." So sounds like it's going.
I know that reference
with a real good ratio.
And there's an emoji hand doing this.
And then they just last night they sent out an email saying the Star Wars 2 Battlefront reviews are in, and they put together an accolades trailer. They call it "Watch the Accolades trailer," and it's like 3 quotes that say like it's like a movie.
It sounds good.
Sound good.
They use Giant Bomb's review?
No, weirdly enough.
Okay.
They just didn't. Yeah. Just put that out there one more time. A recut version of that trailer would probably be pretty funny.
It would be a very funny thing with actual quotes.
That has happened by now, probably.
I'm sure. Yeah. So that and maybe I'm not 100% right, but that, as I understand it, is the timeline. Also, keep in mind at E3 they got it there and said no season pass, but didn't really talk anything at all about progression and how it would work.
Yeah,
like that was something that like one of their YouTube game changers got to break about, like, oh yeah, star cards, let's talk about it. And they're like, wait, what? Yeah, the timeline or their rollout of information was bad. The information itself was worse, and their reaction to it has been floundering.
And to cap everything off, they have now invited the attention of the government.
Yeah, congratulations. You're blowing up everyone else's spot.
For everybody.
Bunch of dum-dums.
Yeah.
Like even the people that are like reining this in at least somewhat more responsible ways. I don't want to debate are all of these bad, yes or no here, because they probably are.
Yeah.
But this is bigger than Battlefront. This is something that the industry is going to have to contend with for probably most of 2018 now.
Yeah.
Like figuring out what all this really means.
Like there's so many different ways that this is the thing. Like it is taken just purely in a vacuum. Like all the events that have led up to this game and how it turned out are a mess. The culmination of EA's year in this is a mess. The ramifications this will have for other things going forward is a mess. Like it's a branching tree of shit.
I do feel like when you have a timeline of events, like you're in.
Yeah, anytime you can, there are enough
plot a
points
timeline
on that calendar that
you rank up there.
Yeah,
and it's like Visceral Games like that. That is a rotten situation. The way they messaged it was bad. The reporting about what really happened there was bad. And it's basically the same situation with Mass Effect Andromeda. That studio got, at the very least, drastically reduced in number of people and responsibilities. They canceled DLC. Like, the response to it was just so toxic that they couldn't do anything else but mothball one of their biggest franchises.
One of their
Mass Effect.
They did. They killed the Mass Effect.
Stop saying that.
Killed it.
They did.
Stop saying
It's
that.
a fact.
It's not.
Shivved it in the shower.
Just call it ME Andromeda. It's not a Mass Effect game. It's different.
Vinny, let's talk about the genophage and what it did to Mass Effect.
Oh gosh,
There's no cure.
They used the Renegade option on the Mass Effect series.
They pulled
Renegade.
They pulled Renegade every single chance they got.
Mass Effect out of a window.
The most Renegade interrupt of all time. They slapped every newscaster they could.
Right up until like a week ago, I was ready to come in here and argue that Mass Effect was the winner of this category.
No.
Yeah, but then
Battlefront happened. EA was about to win this category, and then EA was like, "Hold my beer."
At the last second.
EA is a very big company, and Mass Effect is arguably one of their. Well, I don't know. in the hearts of many, one of their biggest franchises. I guess.
yeah.
Also, Star Wars is a pretty big franchise.
Yeah.
And they fucked up so bad that the people who run Star Wars are like, yo.
At least on Star Wars, it's like there's something with the Star Wars stuff. It's like they fucked up in a way that tried to make them money. With like Mass Effect, they just like kind of put out a game that was just kind of broken in a lot of places. That's like not going to do anything well. Like Star Wars, it just feels like somebody read the room completely wrong and was just like, we can get away with this, right? Yeah, we focus tested this with at least 2 people, and they are willing to pay for Star Wars. I don't.
It's just nuts. You think of EA, you have to imagine that they go through so many different levels of focus testing and just feedback and
external
everything.
Consultants coming in. Like there have to have been multiple people along the way that kind of maybe said like, I don't know, you guys. It seems a little rough. And they went like, eh.
They're on like a car trip and like somebody keeps dropping something and then says grab the wheel, and that person drops their keys and says, hold on, I gotta find it, grab the wheel. And like they're just yanking it in different ways.
And you have to imagine that a lot of this gets, if you back this out far enough, it comes down to just like, okay, we need to make X amount of dollars with this thing to return on the investment, and we've decided season passes are not a viable thing to sell anymore. Figure it out. Also, you can't use cosmetics. Figure it out.
There was just a thing I just saw in looking at the timeline that said, I guess somebody found the cosmetics menu in Battlefront 2 that was like hidden in there.
Whoops.
I don't know. That's a breaking.
There are some additional skins. Like if you buy the expensive version of the game, you can get like Kylo Ren with no hood on or something, or with the hood on. I don't know.
Yeah, like Scavenger Ray, I think was one of them.
Like extra vape edition Kylo Ren.
Yeah. I mean, that stuff, at least, they have said, right, that like...
I believe that is on record now, that they could not do the cosmetic stuff.
It's not. I don't think it's on
official.
record. That was like the VentureBeat reported that it would, like when all this was happening.
Oh, okay.
But the EA has never come out and said it.
Yeah, because that would be like pointing the finger at Disney, which they could never do. They could never come out there and say, like, Disney wouldn't let us do the thing that you are telling us to do. Because that's not being a good partner.
Doesn't Lang say you never throw your partners under the bus?
This story here says their CFO
they're in the trench together on this one.
Yes.
Wait, what does it say?
They're feasting together.
This says they're...
No,
they're starving together.
It says, EA CFO came out and said replied that EA was limited by the well-defined Star Wars canon and what it could do or offer with regard to customization.
What's the date on that?
That is yesterday.
Oh, jeez.
All right.
Okay, then they have come out.
So they have found their partner.
Okay.
Asked at an investor panel why customization options did not figure more into Battlefront 2's controversial loot crate system as opposed to using player progression items, which many users have found off-putting. Blake Jorgensen replied that EA was limited, etc., etc.
Man, the mess that never ends.
I put a star next to Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Yeah,
I think we're settled.
I started to ask like, hey, what should we call this entry officially? But then I decided that we should just call it Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, but people will know.
Just everything around it.
get it.
Yeah.
It is a Death Star rolling down a hill into a crowd of screaming children.
Into a Sarlacc pit. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, that works too. All right.
Star Wars.
It'll work.
I wonder if they could salvage it.
I really want to know what the first month sales end up being. Like the first game sold 14 million copies supposedly.
Yeah.
I think I got that right.
15
it was a lot.
Yeah, and I think like 12 was in the first 3 months or 6 months or something.
So
like that.
I am really curious to see if there's any real impact on this stuff. Because when this stuff all started happening, you look at like the history of boycotts across, gaming and all this other stuff. Like people say a lot of stuff, but they don't often stick to their guns. And so this seemed like it was kind of more of the same on that. And you're like, you're going to say a lot of bad stuff about Battlefront 2, but people kept on it.
Saw a whole lot of people talking about getting refunds.
Yeah. People, and that's all anecdotal. You saw a lot of people doing it for sure. I'm sure that got impacted to the point where they had to do something, or EA had to make a change. And that's awesome. Like I've become pretty cynical about that stuff, but this is like a genuine moment for change, and I don't know if it'll be good or bad, because I think when you've got the specter of government intervention over it, that's usually not going to lead to good outcomes. But you could make the argument that EA brought it on themselves.
And it's all compounded by the fact that when you look at that game in a vacuum, irrespective of everything else going on around it, you can see that glimmer of a game you would want to play.
Yep.
You can see it in there.
I still kind of want to play it.
Yeah,
I know, I do too. Like, it looks fun.
It's still some
looks
dumb
fun.
Star Wars fantasy wish fulfillment.
I know.
I think the campaign's pretty bad.
It is.
Yeah, which is too bad because like parts of like I don't know that weird multiplayer thing with like the Yoda and like everybody is like, nah, yeah, I'd play this weird mashup.
And space battles. Who doesn't want to do the goddamn Star Wars space
like,
battles?
Flying around in the thing.
Lando getting chopped up by like 3 Sith Lords with lightsabers.
Like that looked fun.
Like while
Why
they
not?
kneel, which is like really weird because they don't like take a knee as they're like dying, right?
I think
They're, like,
Lando
it's like
like
they
goes on and
don't
he's like,
die.
all right, guys,
right.
Darth Vader and Darth Maul and Kylo Ren.
Look, I've just got this pistol,
here,
man.
I'll put my
I don't
blaster
fucking
down.
know.
Yeah,
All
right.
right, because like nobody dies, right? They just kind of like do
okay,
things.
you got me.
Yeah.
Look, man, I'm not a Jedi. I'm a mayor. All right, I don't know.
I've got charm.
It's really weird. Yeah. Also, Mass Effect stuff is really sad.
It is.
They killed Mass Effect.
It's all bad.
Pour one out. For
There were
Mass
a lot
Effect.
of well-meaning people that probably worked on Mass Effect
Yeah.
Andromeda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Star Wars
And Star
Battlefront.
Wars.
Yeah,
Sure sounds
yeah,
like it.
It seems
absolutely.
like it's-
And
and Visceral,
and
certainly.
Untitled Star Wars projects.
Yeah.
Uh,
It feels so bad for those people that had
Yeah,
nothing to do with
it
these
sucks.
stupid decisions.
Yeah.
yeah. All right. Star Wars Battlefront 2 is the hottest mess of the year.
Do we want to call this EA Presents Hottest Mess?
I
guess
think
we
we kind of
have
have
to
to.
at this
Yeah.
Exclusively EA's category.
It's their second
Also,
category.
EA Games Most Disappointing Game of the Year category.
I know. Well, I can't wait for worst game.
At least Madden was good.
Yeah.
I, for one, take no pleasure in arriving at these decisions.
No!
Like,
Oh,
EA
it sucks. It
EA
absolutely
has-
sucks.
Like, it's funny in a cosmic sense.
Yeah, like
This Battlefront one though is a sounds like a human error of like miscalculation
Yeah.
and greed.
yeah.
So like
yes,
Yeah.
that one
Yeah.
in particular, sure.
versus like a lot of hardworking people who like didn't have the resources to do
Yeah.
it. Like
Yep.
the Battlefront 2 stuff, I cannot imagine game designers like coming up with that system on their own to be like, I'm making a great system here.
Like the only
Versus
thing,
like people being like, how can we monetize this in a way that lasts a long time?
the only thing I'd add to that is I do think there is a human error of greed in there, but it's at the management level that unfortunately put these studios in a position where they did not have the resources and did not have
Right.
the oversight necessary to make the game that people wanted.
Right.
Yep.
In both cases.
I mean, because the charging for those characters was a thing they switched at the last minute anyway. So like it wasn't obviously
The issue, yeah, the one of the main issues I have with all this is like the number of changes they've made from the beta to launch just tells you that they have zero vision for this stuff.
right.
That they're just like, oh, we thought that we could get away with this. We didn't really know. Or like, you know,
Right.
their willingness to change it on the fly like this just says like, oh, yeah, we made it so we could change this.
Yeah, we set it pretty high.
Yeah.
I guess that didn't work. I mean, there are what seems like some inherent game design flaws in the way that you get the cards and the crafting and
Totally.
stuff like that. But like those kind of changes, in particular, the pricing just seems like I'm gonna try and get as much as I can.
I mean,
And we couldn't get
removing
away
the
with it.
ability to spend any real money on crates in that game, it doesn't become like a great game at
Right.
that point. If anything, it just creates this gaping hole where you're like, oh, now I really have to grind for all this like stuff that like makes your character just straight up better in a lot of cases, and this is not fun. And like there's that analyst that they dug into and found out that he owned some EA stock. But the analyst was like, "Oh, they're overblowing this thing. If you play this game 2.5 hours a day for a year, like all these gamers do, you're practically making money on
Was that
this
the guy
thing.
that was saying
$60.
on like a per hour basis?
Yeah,
like it's cheaper to play
exactly,
this
yeah.
than to see The Last Jedi.
Yeah,
I know,
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
It was like $60 is cheap for games.
That's how they got here. There's definitely people in a room like writing that down, showing some chart, and being like, "That makes sense." I mean, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes
People will
sense.
be okay with this.
Yeah, people are
It's fine. It's fine.
Here's best value for these crystals.
All right.
All right. Let's hope that EA controls some very cool video gaming properties. Let's hope that
Yeah,
they
they
do
do.
better.
Fewer cool ones than the start of the year.
Let's hope that they do better.
And
Bring
Lord
back
knows-
SSX.
Lord knows, as the history shows, they often do great things with those properties.
Yeah. All right. That's our hottest mess. Battlefront 2. Also Visceral Games. Also Mass Effect. Andromeda.
Anthem in stores Q4 2018.
I hope Anthem is good.
Pre-order now.
Don't take
Get
BioWare
2
from
bonus
me.
crates.
Don't. Casey Hudson's back. Everything's going to be fine.
They kind of already took BioWare.
Don't say that.
Get the doctors back. in
Yeah, I
there.
was going to say, I'm just going to go drink beer with Dr. Greg. That's to make everything okay. That's it for the first two categories of day 2. We're going to take another break and then come back and do the other two.